Welcome back. In this demonstration, we are going to work on watercolor skill sheet number 1. In this sheet, you're going to make 4 separate washes of color for each separate color in your watercolor pan. So if you read here, it says alizarin crimson, cadmium primary, lemon primary, yellow ochre, sap, cobalt, phthalo, Prussian, burnt sienna, burnt umber, and black. Those are the colors here. I've organized this so that all of these colors should match in your watercolor set from here with the warm red, cool yellow, warm yellow, green, cobalt blue, which is kind of can go either way, and which is kind of a warm, I guess, and then the cool blue, and then just a darker cool blue, black, and then your warm yellow, or sorry, your warm brown and your cool brown are over here. Okay, now, as you get started, you should be using a watercolor brush. You can use either a natural bristle brush or a synthetic bristle brush, whichever you prefer. I find that the synthetic bristle brush is easier to paint in the little shapes. What you're gonna do is you're gonna make 4 overlapping washes. Your first wash, your lightest wash, is gonna be the whole column. Okay, so you paint your whole column first light. Then you add a little more paint and less water and just do light. This one. Then you're going to add a little bit more paint to make it a medium wash, which is like this. And then the last one is lots of paint to make it a dark wash. So you have 4 overlapping layers. Okay, and if you look at this example in class, you'll be able to see those 4 different layers pretty clearly. Here is an example of my lightest wash that I have, and you can kind of see how those look compared to the darker ones here. And if I kind of move that up and down, you can kind of see the difference of color. So to get started, you're going to need a watercolor skill sheet. Please put your name on it. My name is Mr. Lundgren, so I'm going to write Mr. Lundgren. Then after you get done writing your name, please write your grade and section, and then your homeroom teacher. Okay? Maybe this is Mr. Thomas. Okay? Now, as you get started, you should have the following supplies. You should have your watercolor set. You don't need to do any mixing today because you're only using the pure watercolors. You should have a cup of clean water to refresh. You should have your own little bitty cup, and really when you fill this one up, it's really like 2 millimeters of water, not very much, just enough to rinse your brush. And an empty cup here to empty out your dirty water each time you change a color. Then you should also have some paper towels there at your table to dry your brush on. They're called blotting paper towels. Okay, to get started, I'm going to use my brush. And remember, good brush control, holding your brush like a pencil, not too far back, not too far forward, just right behind the ferrule. I'm going to get a nice light wash of alizarin crimson here. I'm just going to touch my brush to the color and get a nice wash and start here. Okay, it's kind of dark, so as I do this, I want to make sure that I can get a little bit of water and add it in to make my nice light wash all the way up and down. Now, as you do this, make sure you're pulling your brush, you're not pushing it, and that you're being accurate. One of the things I would like to see from you today is that you can have good brush control. You can pull your brush nicely and angle your brush so that you can fill that rectangle nicely. Okay, now as you start working, you're going to have trouble with the watercolor being perhaps too wet right next to the edge. One way that you can not have that happen is let it dry, maybe skip ones. And one way to get lightest color down here is you can take your paper towel, and after it's dried ever so slightly, you can blot a little of the color out, and you'll get a very nice light area. Now, my water is pretty clean, and I'm doing the next one cool red, so I'm not going to switch my water just yet. I'm going to get some cool red on my brush and just paint the next one in. Okay? Notice how I'm pulling my brush again, being very careful, making sure to put new water on my brush. This is watercolors after all, So you do want to make sure that you use water on your brush to paint the watercolors. Okay, once I get my whole rectangle filled in, I might use a little blotting paper here and blot that little one up so you can get a light version. Okay, now I'm going to wash my brush out. Now my brush is nice and clean. If I blot it on this paper towel, you can see that there's no color on it. And this water is pretty clean, but it is just a little red. So I'm going to dump it out. Make sure you keep your water clean. And I'm just going to dump a little teeny bit back in there for my yellow. I'm going to rinse my brush out again just to make sure, and then start on my yellow. Okay, yellow is our weakest color, so it's good to get enough on your brush to make sure you can get it in the rectangle. Notice how I'm angling my brush and pulling away from me there, and then pulling down this way here. Okay, there's my yellow. I'm going to pull a little bit out of this lightest one, rinse my brush, and do my warm yellow. Now at this point, you kind of get the idea. So in the video, I can fast forward, or you can fast forward and just see the procedure, for making sure you get it done correctly. Each time you switch colors, like from yellow to green, green to blue, make sure you take your dirty water and dump it out. You want clean, fresh water. It's really important with watercoloring that you have clean, fresh water and you're not using dirty water. Blue is a very powerful color, so make sure as you start your blue, you are being careful not to use too much paint. You're using enough water to make a light, transparent wash. Notice how I'm painting with the tip of my brush and getting the paint on my brush with the tip of my brush rather than smashing it into the watercolor set. Black being super powerful. Make sure that you have enough water on there to get your wash light. Now when you're done, make sure you wash your brush out really well so that it's clean and neat for the next person. Let your colors dry so you can start your second coat. And we will do the second coat in a separate video.